Beneath bright fluorescent lights, foot-long cylindrical pieces of rock are laid out in cardboard boxes, where they sparkle with grains found in the millions of pounds of nickel that Tesla committed to buy in January. That responsibility can possibly transform into an adroit purchase for the electric car maker. Brian Goldner, chief investigation official for Talon Metals Corporation, an exploration and mining organization, lifts one of the rock cylinders recently drilled many feet underneath the Earth's surface and slants it so the nickel gets the light. Over 9%, he says, of the surprisingly high metal substance. It's insane. 2 years ago, Tesla's chief, Elon Musk, begged miners to mine more nickel and offered a giant contract to anyone who could do it sustainably. The problem is acute. Nickel is a key component of electric vehicle batteries. Thanks to surging demand for electric vehicles, geopolitics, and a lack of new supplies, the high-grade nickel necessary for making electric vehicle batteries is becoming scarce. According to reports from Goldman Sachs, the world faced a high-grade nickel deficit in 2021 that will widen in 2022 and quadruple into over 800,000 tons by 2030. That shortage is having an impact on the prices of EVs. In March, Tesla raised prices on vehicles with nickel-based batteries by $1,000 to account for surging raw material costs. Recycling and waste reclamation are important means of obtaining some of it. But if the world is truly committed to achieving a net-zero carbon future, new mining must play the key role over the next decade. Tesla's commitment to Talon is, in part, a bet that Talon can do it. If it's successful, the benefits will be more than just financial. It'll be a roadmap for mining the critical materials necessary to compete in a net-zero future. According to the White House, global demand for nickel sulfate, the high-grade ore containing metal pure enough for batteries, will grow from 200,000 to 3 million tons per year by 2040. As of now, production of high-grade nickel isn't enough to feed the global electric car population that will grow from roughly 13 million today to 677 million by 2040. And what production exists isn't necessarily going to be accessible to US car and battery makers. For example, Russia alone holds about 20% of the world's grade 1 nickel supply. So far it hasn't cut off supplies to customers, but that could change if the Ukraine crisis continues. The Biden administration have been anxious about supply chain issues well before the war in Ukraine. The war have now sharpened the White House's thinking, highlighting, among other deficits, that the US accounts for only 0.64% of all global nickel production. This caused the White House to invoke the Defense Production Act to boost domestic production of critical materials used in electric vehicles. Among the means to be used include environmentally responsible domestic mining. A 2012 review of 14 copper sulfide mines that represented 89% of US copper production found that 13 failed to control contaminated seepage. The damage can be catastrophic. Acidic mining wastes accumulated over decades transformed parts of Butte, Montana, into one of the US's largest Superfund sites. In Butte and numerous other previous mining destinations, cleanup costs that can add up to in the billions are frequently borne by taxpayers. Paula McApee, advocacy director and counsel for Water Legacy, a not-for-profit established to go against sulfide mining in northern Minnesota, contends that, on an administrative level, barely any illustrations have been gained from these disappointments. Minnesota and government controllers have demonstrated that they are unfit to control the ecological impacts of sulfide mining, she says. The White House's interest in mining has also attracted the concern of Native American tribes. Mining companies have a long history of damaging the environment in or near tribal lands, typically with little or no consent of the tribes. The transition to electrical vehicles could, potentially, further that ruinous legacy. A 2021 analysis by MSCI found that most of U.S. reserves of energy transition metals are located within 35 miles of Native American reservations. In the case of nickel, it's 97%. That includes Tamarack, which is within a watershed that affects 2 federally recognized tribes, which, among other activities, cultivate wild rice in reserved areas. Despite the fact that EVs are environmentally friendly, the mining process of their battery minerals are tedious, expensive, and in some cases a treat to the environment and climate change.